Okay, let's see people coming in. So we're trying this live from Lucknow for the first time. Um, let's see. So we have a global audience. How about you? There we go. We have our first or second. Okay, people are coming in. So for those of you, I want to hold your intro until we have a few people coming in. It takes a few minutes, so it's a live Periscope. Everybody's out there. So for those of you joining in, guys, we're here with a very wonderful personality who has been speaking here about women's rights, violence towards women in the past few days. We're here in this beautiful school called the City Montessori School here in Lucknow. Thanks for the loves, guys. Where are you guys joining from? And we're going to have a conversation here with Ms. Dixon, who has been the former
Chief Justice and Supreme Court Justice of Panama.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful position to hold. So tell us a little bit about why you kind of came to the conference and what was some of the topics being explored here.
Well, I came because the issue is it's not only interesting; it's a worldwide matter of concern, and in my country, it is as well. Violence towards women is a serious threat against humanity in general. I was a Supreme Court justice in the criminal branch, so I happened to have been exposed to some of the most atrocious forms of violence that includes not only physical or even slaughter, but also emotional, psychological torture and violence against women in my country. Besides that, having had the opportunity to learn from women judges from all over the world, I realized that it's not a located phenomenon. It's not a small or isolated issue. On the contrary, it's worldwide, and therefore it demands an integrated approach. And it also demands concern and I would say in English, consciousness of not only women but even men, or especially men, and the entire society, to be able to design, first of all, identify the causes, and secondly, design a way for humans to overcome it.
Right, right. Those who just joined us, I wanted to know, Shaker, is the sound okay? Can you guys hear fine? We don't have the mic today. We usually have a little mic that gives us a better sound.
Okay.
So you mentioned something about the issue being important not to women but also men. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit as to what are the effects on man and society overall when we do have violence in a society?
I think it's
Okay,
about
wonderful.
it's a matter of the debate has to do with power and control, which is reproduced in a family, in a personal relation between man and woman. Unfortunately, it's a distortion of
Thanks.
the roles that each one is expected to play in a relation, and that distortion of each one's roles, sometimes, too many times desirable, leads to violence. And it's a way of trying to subdue a woman, because sometimes it's inspired by a very low self-esteem, men that have very low self-esteem. Other times it has to do with the need of affirmation. That is precisely one of the consequences of a low self-esteem.
Okay.
And other times it's just a matter of a bad learning process of how men are supposed to enforce their manhood. It has to do with reproducing distorted models from childhood, where maybe they come from homes where men or the father or the male figure were violent towards women. And all of these things are afterwards repeated in further relations with their spouses, with their partners, with their female kids, female daughters, the children.
Right, right.
And I think these could be part of the causes. Other times, other forms of violence against women, especially those that occur among highly educated people, doesn't necessarily involve physical threats, but mainly psycho-emotional aggression, are sometimes related to the need or sense of competition, professional competition, whereas men feel threatened if a woman, their partner or spouse, is highly educated or has a better position, better, I would say, because of the values, prevailing values in society, a position on her job, or has a higher income, higher earnings, and this may be the main provider at home. This moves to unhealthy relations where men then would assume subtle forms of aggression against women, and it's also forms of violence. And
there is
all of the varieties of forms of violence are precisely the topic that one has to address.
Right. There was a question from the audience: do you remember any specific cases from Panama that you could mention in which any interesting?
I remember that question. Unfortunately, the conference didn't give us enough time for us to develop on that. But yes, I do remember specific cases.
You could say one, you can narrate one.
One that
maybe similar to one that happens here in South Asia, or it could be different.
Well, I could say all cases of violence against women are similar.
Similar, okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with the latitude or part of the cure. But I want to recall one in particular where the violence wasn't not only against the woman, but then the approach of the judiciary at the moment. This would be maybe interesting.
Okay, yes,
there
please.
There was this case of this woman who lived with a man for many years, more than a decade, and she had 3 children. They were not married, and none of them was married before. So they were both single, but they had a very stable relation. And they had an unhealthy relation. He was very aggressive, and that aggression led to finally her death. He killed her, and he didn't only kill her, but also he tried to dispose of the body, and he buried her in the inside the house.
Oh, inside the house. Oh, wow.
And when the case went to court, the way the law is written, it has a sanction, a more severe penalty sanction for when a woman is killed by her spouse.
Okay.
And if the woman is killed by her partner, not necessarily the man who she is legally married to, then the discussion was which was the sanction to be applied. Should it be the sanction, the more severe sanction that is normally applied to the husband who killed his wife, or should it be the more lean sanction because they were not legally married? So this was an interesting case. It was about violence against women, but then it was what we would call in Spanish. I'm sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish.
No, Spanish.
English is not being very accurate.
We should say some things in
victimization of the woman case after death, because the debate was how should you treat the criminal, the person who killed her.
Yes.
And I remember the case came to my chamber at the last level of revision.
Okay.
And I decided to submit it to my staff. And I said, okay, let's have a debate on the case. And it was interesting because my staff, the team of collaborators in my office, was composed by 2 men and 2 women.
Okay.
And
welcome, Eddie.
There were 2 who thought that this man should be treated should be sanctioned with the regulation that gave him a softer sanction,
Okay.
a lower penalty, and there were two who taught the contrary. The two that thought that he should be given the softer penalty said that, well, because the literal text of the law said that those who are married, legally married, will be sanctioned with a more severe penalty.
Okay.
But because they were not legally married, then he should be sanctioned softer.
Interesting. Okay.
The debate was whether one or the other sanction should be applied. And I invited my team to analyze the case and to analyze the application of the law from a wider scope, from a wider perspective, and to take into consideration other factors, as well as the law, and to do a cross application of the legislation, not only the criminal code, but also the family code.
Interesting.
And,
okay.
It was very interesting because at the end, we concluded that he should be sanctioned with the most severe penalty because despite the fact he was not legally married, according to the literal text of the criminal code, there was a family code that established that whoever had more than 5 years of a stable relation, as being single, each one of them single, but having a marital type relation in a stable, continuous way for over 5 years, would be legally considered married.
Interesting.
Technically, not legally. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. I'm thinking.
Same in India. People are saying it's same in India, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be what you call a factual marriage.
Okay.
More factual. Marriage.
Right.
So because it was in the family code, it would have been a factual marriage. Plus they had 3 children. Plus the relation was a stable relation. We did a cross application of the law and we combined both. And this man was sanctioned with the most severe penalty. Wow. But it was a debate. And it was interesting to find that there were people who would have thought that even though she was killed and the atrociousness of the way she was treated for so many years, the treatment to be given to
should have been softer. Wow,
that was one interesting case. And,
under domestic environment, living rights. Right. People are replying with some comments. Yeah, so they're saying something similar in India. I wanted to know. Obviously, you've seen so many cases. Our audience who are watching out there, obviously, violence against women in this region of the world is probably as prominent as it may be in other regions. What are some basic things that people who are watching us right now could do to stop or put an halt or at least slow down the process? Or what are some things that the average man or the average person can do on a daily basis?
I think it's a process. It's a process that combines several things.
I'm going to shift for one. Sorry, guys, for the little shake.
It combines education, evidently, which is not reduced to instruction, formal education at schools, but it also basically begins from home. I think the transmission of values, of how women are regarded from home, how women are considered, the role that women play at home, it's very essential. So
changing the role of women at home.
The role of women at home is essential, and here is where women has to be transformed because the values are transmitted by women.
That is key, right.
Men aren't necessarily the ones who raises the kids. The one who is actually connected day to day with the children are the mothers. And it is the mothers who transmits values and who teaches children the roles that each one shall play. Men, boys, and girls. So it's the mothers we need to work with, and the girls of today who are going to be mothers tomorrow has to be exposed to a new concept, a new understanding of the roles of boys and girls in order for us to have a healthier society, healthier relations.
And an interesting comment came saying, so do you mean to say that in highly educated class is the amount of violence lower?
No, not necessarily. Absolutely.
Not necessarily. It's interesting.
No, because
Okay.
if we talk about value and education doesn't necessarily go hand
So
in hand.
education and value is two different buckets.
It comes from different roots. You see, you can go to school and you can have a high education, you can have a PhD, you can have a doctorate, but yet you're reproducing ancient values, distorted values. You could be reproducing all sorts of concepts that at the end leads you to not be a better person. So it doesn't necessarily mean that at the highest level of education there is less violence against women. I've had cases with very highly educated people
being violent.
The level
So it's
of
the value.
It's a value system that has
The value
to be
system, okay.
transformed.
Okay.
And it begins from home.
Yes. So that was one thing. So the being able to have a value education specifically for women who are the transferers of this system to the next generation. What are some other things that could be done on
I think
the same?
there is also
Short term, maybe that's more of a long-term
that's a
thing.
long-term, but
Yeah, short term.
We need to have institution and government engagement to protect women and to establish new rules.
Okay.
New, what I would say, the new rules of the game.
Okay.
That are going to be defining the access for women to work, access to education, the opportunities, the way women are regarded in society has a lot to do with the roles they have. The access to women to political roles, why not?
Right.
Is going to be
But that's also long term, isn't it?
Not necessarily long.
So do you think governments can take such a action in a short term?
For instance, if you have legislative changes
Right.
in the electoral system,
Right.
you could be able to start simulating women participation. And
Oh, you mean,
generating a debate.
okay, I see what you mean. So you meaning changing in government systems.
Exactly.
Okay,
Changing in
which can
government
which can come whenever they vote on it, or it
Exactly.
could
But
come
then
immediately.
there's even a shortest road that one could take, and this is where media plays a role. If media would introduce in their agenda the issue of women and violence against women, women role, etc. If this was to be an issue of interest and therefore start being promoted and or discussed, that would be another way where we would be able to access a greater number of people, women and men, and therefore we would begin to start introducing at least questions that would lead to changes.
This is an interesting comment because media does cover these issues, but perhaps maybe it's not doing it in the right manner. What would you, from a judicial perspective or from your personal perspective, should be media doing in covering this issue of violence against women?
The first thing it's important to understand, and I think you said it when your presentation, is the role of media, the interest that media has with the facts, with the happening.
Right.
One thing is the news. The news is one thing, it's perceived in one way. The judiciary procedures is a different thing. It operates at a different speed.
Right.
And the social interest is also a different thing. So it's about finding a middle point where media would maintain interest in what is happening in the judiciary, because judiciary, despite being despite operating at a slow pace, does have information that can become news, which means of interest.
Okay.
Or
You mean data? Do you mean data or data? Okay.
I would say basically data. I would say illustration about how cases are being tried and what are the perspectives, what are the chances, how does the law apply, not with respect to one specific case, because you don't want to influence some people's opinion by generating a prejudgment, but yes, to illustrate about how the system operates. That could be one other way for media to contribute with the debate. And finally, to invite and have more talk shows, to invite the parties involved in these kind of issues, phenomena, to be able to make their own contribution or at least to raise questions.
Right.
And that's the way I think you have a joint force of different
participation with
in society.
This question just came to my mind, you being a Chief Justice in Panama and probably dealing with a numerous variety of different type of cases. One being the violence against women. So you've probably dealt with many other types of cases as well, as I'm understanding. So all these years of dealing with so many cases, how important and vital is this specific issue? Do you feel that if you had to put it on a scale or on a numbered list, where would it come on your list?
Violence against
women.
Well, it is very important.
Okay.
And if I was to put it on a list, it would depend on what's the list for.
So let's say the list of issues to be resolved for society.
I think this would be number one.
You really believe so?
I would think this is number one. And I would say 1A.
Okay, there's a 1A, 1B. I'm thinking like gun violence or other sort of economic issues.
This is number one, and there is a 1A that has to do with the impact of drugs and drug consumption, especially by young people.
Okay.
But why I put them together is because when you don't have a healthy family, a healthy home, and you have mothers or women that are being subject of violence, then you have children who loses their track easier. So there is a connection between one and the other.
Right.
It is important, even though it may not be statistically the highest case, because then again, how many cases does go to the system?
Right. And somebody was asking actually how easy it is for women to prove their cases of domestic violence in courts.
When I said statistically, how many women decide to take their case to court in the first place?
Right.
There are lots of cases that go unknown and therefore untried because women simply don't go. They don't take the cases to court for many reasons, being the main one generally.
Right.
Not so much self-preservation as preservation of their children. And because of the feeling they have to protect their children, and maybe their spouses or partners are the main providers, then they would take the all sorts of forms of violence and stay silent. Don't take their cases to court. So that's why I said this is...
So once they do take it to the court, the rephrasing, how difficult is it to actually prove that you have been...
Well, in Panama it's not so difficult.
Okay.
Fortunately, the law has designed different ways to establish that a woman is really being victimized by her partner. And there is the Instituto de Medicatura Forense. That's in Spanish.
Nice. Okay.
Means,
the Institute of
Medicine Institute that runs tests on the woman, not only physical but psycho-emotional tests, psychological and psychiatric tests to determine if a woman is really being a victim. And there are immediate measures that can be imposed to protect this woman from being victimized or re-victimized under the circumstances that has actually driven her to court. So it's not so difficult to prove. Violence against women, once it gets into the system, it's not so difficult to prove.
Nice. Okay, that's wonderful to hear about Panama's progress then in that area. Well, I think we have, yes, I remember almonds. You see, I'll tell you, Zafar, I do know your name, but when you're in the conversation, I see comments, I don't remember people's face. We have this one audience member, his name is Zafar, and whenever I just say a question from audience, he's like, why do you say a question from audience? Remember my name, say my name. So please apologize because different comments come. I don't want to focus on the name, I rather focus on the question. It only stays there for a few seconds, as you know. So how has your experience been to conclude this conversation? Being at this conference, did you hear some other talks that you thought were constructive and were able to?
I think the conference has been really productive and very, very constructive.
Okay.
I think it helps. It's another very good effort in the right direction, and it gives us the opportunity to exchange experience from people from different parts of the world. It brings us together. It allows us to learn from one another,
Okay.
and therefore to take back some ideas,
Wow.
ways one can approach solutions to problems that are not unique or exclusive for one's country. So in that
Nice.
sense, I think that the outcome is positive for the conference.
Thank you so much. Okay, and thank you, audience. We will try to find some other awesome speakers and have some conversation. So thank you. We'll end it here. Bye. Yay. Say bye to the digital world.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I wanted to have you say something in Spanish. I've missed hearing Spanish.
Oh.
Maybe others have as well. Say something about India in Spanish.
Oh, bueno, no es difícil. Me parece que este es un país maravilloso. Realmente India tiene mucho que ofrecer al mundo. Primero por la diversidad que aquí existe y en segundo lugar porque están caminando con un proyecto de paz, de un mundo de paz tan hermoso que al final va a valer la pena. Siendo, creo, hoy ya el país más poblado del mundo, tiene mucho que ofrecer y nosotros mucho que aprender.
Oh, muchas gracias, muchas gracias.
Gracias.
De nada.